أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, welcome back to JemeilTv once again. Today we will study the 65th Surah of Holy Quran At-Talaq, meaning divorce. Let us start from Surah introduction. It is the 65th Surah in the compilation of Holy Quran, and there are 12 ayat in it. This is a Madni Surah, and like the following Surah Al-Tahrim, it speaks about family rules. The spouses should follow Allah's rules whether they have disagreement with each other or they love each other. In this surah, the proper rules of divorce are given. Don't just say that words of divorce and separate yourself from your wives, but give them their rights. It also reminds the believers to obey Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those who disobey Allah are warned at the consequences of their disobedience. Where from the surah got its name? The surah takes its name from the first ayat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة. O Prophet, when you Muslim divorce women, divorce them for the commencement of their waiting period and keep count of the waiting period. 65 verse 1. Central theme of the surah. Taqwa of Allah is the cause for sound family life and a strong ummah. Connection of the surah and its ayat. The surah discusses issues pertaining to talaq, divorce. Connection between the beginning and the ending of the surah. The surah starts and ends with the instructions to have taqwa of Allah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن واحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم. O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you Muslims divorce women, divorce them for the commencement of their waiting period and keep count of the waiting period and fear Allah your Lord. Surah 65, ayat first, and then again in ayat number 10 of the same surah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله عليكم ذكرا. Allah has prepared for them a severe punishment, so fear Allah, O you of understanding who have believed. Allah has sent down to you the Quran. Ayat 10 of 65. Connection of the surah to the surah before or after it. Surah At-Talaq 65 instructs that the limits of Allah must be observed even if one dislikes his wife, and in Surah At-Tahrim 66 we have been guided to observe the limits set by Allah despite one's love for his wife. Surah At-Talaq 65 mentions in the first ayat if the Prophet ﷺ was to divorce. In Surah At-Tahrim we have the ayat, perhaps his Lord, if he divorced you, all would substitute for him wives better than you. 66 verse 5 refers. Lessons, guidance, major issues, reflection of the surah. Laws of divorce. Iddat, waiting period before the divorce takes effect, is commanded to be 3 menstruation period 3 months if menstruation is not applicable, and in case of pregnancy it is the delivery of the child. Rebellion against Allah's commandment may bring stern reckoning or exemplary punishment, so fear Allah and adhere to His laws. Period of revelation. Hazrat Abdullah bin Masud has pointed out, and the internal evidence of the subject matter of this surah confirms the same, that it must have been sent down after those verses of Surah Al-Baqarah in which commandments concerning divorce were given for the first time. Although it is difficult to determine precisely what is its exact date of revelation, yet the tradition in many cases indicate that when the people started making errors in understanding the commandments of Surah Al-Baqarah and practically also they began to commit mistakes, Allah sent down these instructions for their correction. Theme and subject matter. In order to understand the commandments of this surah, it would be useful to refresh one's memory about the instructions which have been given in Quran concerning divorce and the waiting period. It does above. Divorce may be pronounced twice. Then the wife may either be kept back in fairness or allowed to separate in fairness. Al-Baqarah 229 refers. And the divorced woman, after the pronouncement of the divorce, must wait for 3 months of menstruation, and their husband are fully entitled to take them back as their wives during this waiting period if they desire reconciliation. Al-Baqarah verse 228 refers. Then, if the husband divorces his wife for the third time, she shall not remain lawful for him after this divorce unless she marries another husband. Al-Baqarah verse 230. When you marry the believing woman and then divorce them before you have touched them, they don't have to fulfill a waiting period, the completion of which you may demand of them. Al-Ahzab 4:9 verse refer. And if those of you who die leave wives behind, the woman should abstain from marriage for 4 months and 10 days. Al-Baqarah 234 refers. The rules prescribed in these verses were as follows. A man can pronounce at the most 3 divorces on his wife. In case the husband has pronounced 1 or 2 divorces, he is entitled to keep the woman back as wife within the waiting period, and if after the expiry of the waiting period the two desire to remarry, they can remarry. There is no condition of legalization, tahleel. But if the husband has pronounced 3 divorces, he forfeits his right to keep her as his wife within the waiting period, and they cannot remarry unless the woman remarries another person and the subsequently divorces her for his own free will. The waiting period of the woman who menstruates and marriage with whom has been consummated is that she should pass 3 monthly courses. The waiting period in case of 1 or 2 divorces is that the woman is still the legal wife of the husband and he can keep her back as his wife within the waiting period. But if the husband has pronounced 3 divorces, this waiting period cannot be taken advantage of for the purpose of reconciliation, but it is only meant to restrain the woman from remarrying another person before it comes to an end. There is no waiting period for the woman marriage with whom has not been consummated and who is divorced even before she is tied. She can remarry if she likes immediately after the divorce. The waiting period of the woman whose husband dies is 4 months and 10 days. Here one should understand well that Surah At-Talaq was not sent down to annul any of these rules or amend it, but it was sent down for two purposes. First, that the man who has been given the right to pronounce divorce should be taught such judicious methods of using this right as do not lead to separation as far as possible. However, if separation does take place, it should only be in case all possibilities of mutual reconciliation have been exhausted, for in the divine law, provision for divorce has been made only as an unavoidable necessity. Otherwise, Allah does not approve that the marriage relationship that has been established between a man and a woman should ever break. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has said, Allah has not made lawful anything more hateful in His sight than divorce. Abu Dawud refers, and of all the things permitted by the law, the most hateful in the sight of Allah is the divorce. Abu Dawud refers. The second object was to complement this section of the family laws of Islam by supplying answer to the questions that had remained after the revelation of the commandments in the Surah Al-Baqarah. So answers have been supplied to the following questions. What would be the waiting period of the woman marriage with whom has been consummated and who no longer menstruate, or those who have not yet menstruated in case they are divorced? What would be the waiting period of the woman who is pregnant or the woman whose husband dies if she is divorced? And what arrangements would be made for the maintenance and lodging of the different categories of divorced women and for the fosterage of the child whose parents have separated on account of divorce?